What's going on, squad? Oh god, my chair's squeaking a bunch. And we are back with another video. Today, I'll be going over the patch notes for Valorant that's just dropped earlier today for where I live. Depending on when I get this video out, it might be a couple days, a day ago, I don't know, but the patch notes, the first patch notes of the beta. The first of the big changes is actually the difference to melee damage that's been added. They actually do double damage to destructibles, which is quite interesting actually. This now means that Sage's Barrier and Haven's Metal Double Doors take half the time they used to destroy using the knife. Riot's reasoning for this was that when having a low econ round, so when the team hasn't bought, the wall was being too effective against them, it was taking too long to destroy it, and so this change means that there's more opportunities during a low economy round to get through the wall. Next up we have changes to RAZE. Now these are quite interesting changes. RAZE has been under a lot of pressure during the beta so far because everyone is claiming she's quite strong, and I partially agree, and the changes that Riot has made in this one has actually been quite effective in my opinion. So the big change is the fact that the paint shells that she receives at the start of the round has gone from 2 to 1, meaning that she doesn't get 2 right off the bat and being able to throw them near the start of the round. But she can get another paint shell from just getting 2 kills, which means that she can, in theory, have 3 paint shells during a round if played well. This, in my opinion, is definitely like the best way to go around this from Riot, in my opinion. I don't think the nades were in theory too OP. It's just the fact that you were getting overwhelmed with 2 of them sometimes, especially when in like kind of close quarter situations you could get screwed over by them. So I think this is a good option to go with. RAZE also got some audio changes, so her paint shells, her blast pack and her showstopper are now easier to hear, which is definitely very good in these like high clustered situations, and so you'll be able to distinctly hear now when she's using any of her abilities and where they're coming from, which I do believe was one of the big issues with RAZE during the beta so far. That's all the changes with RAZE. Now we'll move on to Sage, who is probably arguably the next most strongest person for people so far during the beta. So far, Sage has had a lot of utility, as in she's got her barrier and she's got her slow orb, with which both stop pushes so quickly, as well as the fact that she's the only person who's able to heal other agents in the game, which means so far Sage has definitely been known as one of the most useful, not necessarily overpowered, but strongest characters so far in the game. She's had some changes to her slow orb though, which means that you're no longer able to b-hop through the zone, or the airspace just above the zone is now going to also slow you. This doesn't affect too many people unless you are someone who like b-hops through the zone, but it does definitely affect jet players, which means you can no longer like glide as easily above the slow orb area. But also, the big change that mattered the most was the fact that when you walk through the zone, the slow orb, the whole area of the ice, you don't make any noise. This is so that Sage players who are defending a site can't rely on the slow orbs being put in 2 different entrances to the site and you being able to hear exactly where they're coming from, which gives another option for attackers to be able to peek it without making as much noise as they were before. This, in my opinion, definitely does add like a lot of balance to Sage's kit, especially as her heal and her wall are all very strong. We did see that her wall is going to be broken quicker with a knife, but that's not too big of a nerf, and I think that this is definitely the best way to go about Sage being so strong. There's been a few bug fixes here and there, but I don't think those are too important to talk about. They weren't too big in the game, but let's talk about some map updates now. The map update that we've got is an orb on Split has been moved from B mid to B main, and this was to make it so there was some pressure from mid and provide a more incentive for players to control B main. I'm yet to really see how this change is going to affect the game, but I'm excited to start playing some more Split and see how it will change everything. After playing a game on Split, I can say that the orb actually does change how the game is slightly played. There's less of a focus on mid now that the orb isn't centered in mid, and instead there's more of a focus on the garage B main kind of aspect, which does change up the gameplay. I'm not sure what Riot were really thinking, but I think it does change up the gameplay and put more of a focus on B side. If you look at something like Haven, you can see that there's a orb on A and there's an orb on C, one for one team and one for the other team on their like sides. And so I guess they've kind of mirrored the same thing with Split on this change. Other than some other bug fixes and quality of life changes, that was really the only changes, so only to the 2 agents and the 1 map change. I think the devs really want to see how far the beta goes before they end up like making any big changes to numbers or anything, because we're yet to really see how much each agent is going to be useful to the team. There we go, that's all of the patch notes and all of the important stuff that's been changed in the first update of the beta. If you enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also give us a like if you've really enjoyed it. I think I'm going to be making videos on the patch notes every time that one comes out, just to help you guys understand what's changed about the game every time. But for now, thank you guys all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next episode.